Hey everyone, welcome to the Ask Warble show. We're just going to be here with Matt today. Going to pick your brain a little bit, ask you some questions, kind of all entertainment based. So let's get started. First of all, kind of an interesting question we've got here. Want to know, how can we get the most out of our wedding band? We want them to be playing at 110%, and obviously they're going to turn up and do their thing, but there are things that we can do to help, right?
Yeah, a lot of it goes without saying. If a builder or electrician turns up to your house, you offer them a cup of tea. Mm-hmm. It doesn't take much to offer the band something when they arrive. Sure.
They've been kind of travelling all day and packing their gear in.
This is it. People often say the band are only playing for a couple of hours, but they've got to load all the gear in. They've got to drive across the country. They've got to load all the gear out. It's hard work. Mm-hmm. A bit of food, some soft drinks. It's really, really simple, but it makes a big difference.
Cool. I guess it helps as well. If you give them kind of some room to wind down, maybe somewhere to change, so they're not in the mix of everything that's going on in the day.
Definitely. A band will feel awkward if they've got to sort of hang around at the wedding party.
You don't want to feel like a loose end when you've turned up. And
they're usually, dressed in,
in the civilian
clothes. Yeah, that's it. And if they've got to hang around feeling a bit out of place and feeling awkward, so it does make a difference if they've got somewhere. And believe it or not, a band will need to warm up.
Sure.
They've got to just get ready to play. They're not going to come out 110% from the first song if they've not warmed up. So just somewhere for them to be able to do that makes a big difference. It really, really does.
Cool. I think another thing that you can do to get a bit more out of your wedding band is to trust your band a bit more. You book professionals, so letting them do their thing and not trying to be too hands-on with the set list and that kind of thing. What would you
definitely say about that? Certainly the majority of bands that we book and deal with, they do this for a living. They're doing this 3-4 times a week.
Their set list is a refined art that they know how to get people on.
They know how it goes. And again, I'm going to refer to like the tradesman, the electrician, but you're not going to stand over an electrician and tell him how to do things, But sure. A band know what they're doing. So yeah, definitely let them do what they.
I guess it can be difficult sometimes because you spent kind of that much money on the band and you want it to go right. So you want to be really hands-on and picking songs and can you play this one first and play this one last and move around. So what advice would you give to couples or people that are booking bands to step away a bit?
As all bands will have a conversation with a couple 3 weeks beforehand. Maybe even more than that, but they'll have a bit of a chat. And again, they do this all the time. They know when to bring out Mr. Brightside. They know when to play certain songs and how it's going to work. They also know what song to play to the audience. If, for example, if everyone goes crazy for Sex on Fire, as cliche as it is, and it's been all the time, that they're going to love,
sure,
Mr. Brightside afterwards or whatever, and things like that. The band might play a Queen song early on, and everyone goes crazy, so they might be able to pull out another one, and that they'll adapt it like a DJ.
Okay.
But also, they want to include the couple's favourite songs or stuff like that. So it is a case of, hey, we like this, we don't like that. That's
just to get an idea of your preferences and that kind of thing. I guess at the end of the day though, you're going to have hundreds of guests there as well that are going to want to enjoy and have a good time, so you have to kind of cater for them as well. On the night then, if you want to get a bit more out of your wedding band, what would you say in regards to timings? Because obviously if the band goes on too early or too late, they may have either missed the boat where people have missed the party, or if they go on too early, people might not be ready. Do you think there's a kind of opportune, perfect time that a band should go on, or does it depend on the wedding?
Every event is different, every wedding's different, and at the end of the day, again, trust the band. Mm-hmm. They'll get a feel of what's going on, what state the guests are in, and come at the right time. I generally advise about 9 o'clock as a good time. If they're doing 9 till 10, a bit of a break, and then 20 past, 10 till 11. That's my preference.
So you say two sets, not three?
I think I prefer 2 sets. I think it flows better.
I guess if you have 3 sets, that's 3 times that they have to get everyone back on the dance floor when they've gone back out to have a drink or have a chat or whatever. And you're making it harder work for the band that you've booked and that you want them to fill your dance floor at the end of the night.
I always feel, and I performed in the past, and I always feel that the first couple of songs of the set are getting people back on the dance floor, or getting them on there for the first time, or getting them. And now, if you've paid for a band a considerable amount of money and you want everyone to be dancing the whole time, you don't want 6 songs essentially to be warm up. You want them. So I feel, and if the band will do it straight through, if they'll do 2 hours straight, not all bands will, but some will. Cool. Do it that way. Yeah, definitely.
Cool. Well, on that, we've got another question, and I think this is one that a lot of people want to know the answer to. How can we fill the dance floor at the wedding? Okay. Obviously, I think the last thing that you want to do is to just leave it up to chance. That there are things that you can do to make sure that your dance floor gets filled on the night. So a
good band will do that. Mm-hmm. A good band, it's their job. They know how to get people on the dance floor and keep them there. And at the end of the day, the majority should. But there are venues where the bar might be in a separate room to where the band are playing.
Cool, so that's going to hurt it because people are going to be in and out getting drinks, and
a quick drink becomes a half-hour conversation with someone you've not seen for a while,
Sure.
and more and more people doing that, it does make a difference. The best piece of advice I always give to people is get the bride and groom on the dance floor.
People will follow suit, and because it's your big day, people are going to want to be with you and celebrate with you and crowd around you.
Selfies, get around you and stuff like that with the bride and groom. If you're on the dance floor going crazy, everyone else will do the same.
There's nothing wrong with a little bit of planning beforehand. If you get your friends together and get a little kind of dancing posse and be like, come on guys, just come with us, get everyone on the dance floor. All your friends and family are going to be on there in no time at all.
Definitely.
Cool. Anything else in regards to getting people on the dance floor? I mean, the other thing to look at as well is the size of the dance floor. Because if it's too big, you're going to scare people away. And obviously, if it's too lit up as well, people who can't dance, like myself, I prefer a dance floor. Ideally, I'd like a dance floor in space where it's pitch black and no one can see me busting moves.
Most wedding venues are on the ball with it. They know to flick the light switches off. They know how to set up the room. But there are situations, and more people nowadays find quirky, different wedding venues, village hall, or sure. And they're doing it all themselves, which is awesome. But dim or turn off the lights. Most bands will have like a bit of stage lighting at the very, very least, which will light up the band enough to make it feel like a gig.
Yeah,
that's what you want. It's a gig, and that's the kind of thing that to feel like.
Cool. Okay. Next up, this is an interesting one, and it could be a little bit tricky to answer. But should we be looking at booking a band or a DJ for a wedding? Or in the ideal world, do we want to have a band and a DJ?
I get this asked every day, and I will be honest, I'm slightly biased. Bands are my thing, and that's where I would always sort of go with. I think a band is a special event.
Yeah.
People don't see bands out all the time. People don't see DJs all the time in the day as well. But I think
it provides a real focal point and a nice kind of ending to the wedding. Or
DJs are incredible, and a good DJ will play the right tunes at the right time.
Yeah.
And will get people on the dance floor and will do it like that. They're brilliant. A bad DJ will be shocking. A bad band will be shocking as well. That's the way it goes. But personally, I think a band is an event. It's a spectacular thing. They'll be on the dance floor with the guitars. They'll be pulling people up. They'll be getting people singing along.
I think it's the interaction. If you have a DJ, the interaction is the thing that you will miss out on the most. But as you said, a DJ. They can take requests on the fly as well, so that's something that you can think about. The one thing we should mention as well, that if you want to have both but are worried about your budget, then a lot of the bands do offer a DJ option.
I don't think any band doesn't offer something, and even if it is a pre-mixed playlist.
So it's part of their kind of entertainment package. So if you book them, you're not going to be left with any dead silence on the nights. In between gaps, they'll put something on for you. But the difference between them and an actual DJ is they haven't, refined their set for a DJ set. They're just putting on so you haven't got any dead noise.
And it's often as well, it is a pre-mixed playlist. Mm-hmm. So it's played on and it is done. And the reality is when you've got 2 hours of live music and you've got bits in between, that it's not essential that it's a full dance floor in those times. It's just like you say, so there's no silence. However, a DJ will play some music, everyone's going crazy, I've got a full dance floor, right, I'll keep it going, or vice versa, no one's dancing, they'll put on the right track.
They know what to do.
Yeah, so that side of things can work better. In an ideal world, we'll go for both. We'd have both all night, but admittedly, you'd pay more people, the budget might be an issue then.
Sure, okay. In terms of wedding venues, there's a lot of things that you need to consider when booking entertainment. What kind of questions should we be asking the venue or finding out when we book the venue, when we look?
If you want a live band, ask the venue if they can have a live band. I've spoke to loads of people that have booked a venue and they're not allowed a band. and there are more and more that do it. Or ask if they can.
That should be your first question.
Yeah, well,
like,
that's
can
it.
I actually have any band at all?
Some venues include a DJ, or they might have a handful of bands that they're the only ones that can work there. Which I get it, but if
then
that's
you're very
gonna be an
limited
issue,
in your scope, and you're kind of stuck with what you're given. Yeah, that can be true.
Like I say, I understand it, but if you've got a particular band or particular taste that you want, you've got to ask that question.
So why would some venues not allow live music? Is it to do with sound limiters, or where it's based? Or?
Some venues, there's various reasons. The main one is sound limiters, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because sound limiters are becoming more and more apparent, and people panic when they hear about a sound limiter. It's not an issue. Mm-hmm. The key thing is, if the venue has got a sound limiter, what's it set at? Find out the limit. Usually it's going to be like 95 decibels, 95, 100 decibels. It could be lower, it could be higher.
But there are ways that bands can get around that. So just because the venue does have a sound limiter, it doesn't mean that we can't have any DJ music whatsoever.
No, it's absolutely fine. There are loads of bands out there that can work. Some bands admittedly can't, but that will be advised, and that's why I think you need to find out early on.
So I guess that helps you know what kind of band you should be looking for, because if your venue does have a sound limiter, you don't want to go for a really heavy, loud, indie kind of rock band that if they have to tone down, it's going to cut any energy out of their set. But you could go for more of an acoustic sound, or all kinds of things.
There's acoustic bands, acoustic acts, some acts that have no sound system, no PA, and can do it completely.
They're just unplugged and
cool. Yeah, go for it. There's other bands as well that have no drummer. Drummers are always the issue, with when it comes to drums. But then again, some bands have an electric drum kit, which is cool. You can turn electric drum kit down. Other bands have no drummer. They use a backing track, which sounds awesome. It's professionally recorded, sounds really good. But again, you can turn it down, which is the key thing.
Okay. Other questions you want to look at asking the venue? Obviously, the guys, when they pull up, they're going to have loads of gear on them. So we want to make sure they have enough parking spaces and somewhere to unload.
Definitely.
And with unloading as well, how about accessibility with the venue?
Yeah. A venue might say that they've got to carry their equipment really far to get to the setup. That's going to affect time. Just let the band or let the agent know.
It's a good thing for the band to know ahead of time that if they have to carry their amps up, 5 flights of stairs, it's something they're going to want to know about before.
And it goes back to the first question you asked me about how to look after the band. Give them as much info as you can.
Sure.
Again, they'll appreciate it if you give them a heads up. They might arrive half an hour earlier, whatever it might be, just to do all that. That makes life easier. But yeah, it's like I say, it's all when you speak to venues, things like that. What time do they want the band to load in? Is the room going to be empty when the band is setting up? Because we face this a lot, where it might be a lot of, like a barn, for example. The whole wedding's happening in the same room. And the band arrive at 5 o'clock, and the room's
all of a
full.
sudden they've interrupted. And you hear the crashing of cymbals and everything going through, and it kind of.
Listen, the band will set up as discreetly as they can, but ultimately
they are a band.
It's your day, and it's not even the noise; it's them bringing lots of equipment in and that sort of thing.
You don't want them to interrupt the flow.
They need an empty room, and it works quite well. Some venues will move the guests out of the room, and they'll redress the room. The band can set up. And then everyone comes back. It's like, wow, there's a band. It's really cool. The other one is the band can get there earlier. Let them know we need you set up by 3 o'clock.
Sure.
They're going to charge a little bit more, but it's only obvious because they're going to be needed for longer. They'll set up, and then that works nicely because they can play music throughout that time, throughout the day. Background music. They can have that going.
I guess that some bands also offer kind of acoustic sets during the drinks reception and whatnot. So instead of booking a few different acts for the day, if you're tight in your budget, you can book one band and get them to cover entertainment for most of your day.
I always tell people that the hardest bit for a band, or the bit is the travelling, the loading in, the setting up, and then the loading out again.
So once they're there.
The playing is not hard. They enjoy. That's what they enjoy.
Sure.
So to ask a band, can you come 2 hours earlier and play an hour's acoustic set? It's always going to be cheaper to do that than book another act for the afternoon.
Cool.
In a day, and you've got them there all day. They become part of the party. They're enjoying all day.
I guess lastly, do we need to know about curfews at the venue? Because if lights out and power's off, then the band aren't going to be able to play from then on. So that's something we should know about.
It's handy to let the band know. Again, the band are going to sort of, when they arrive, someone from the venue will advise them on sort of timings. If if the customer's not too sort of sure about it, but yeah, if you know in advance, it makes a difference, and it can go either way. If it's an early finish, the band kind of need to know so that they can make sure that they're performing.
They don't want to be halfway through their set when you tell them you've got to get off, because
on the flip side, if it's a 2 a.m. finish, let the band know in advance, because I've been there myself. You turn up, play your sets, and then you're told on the night, by the way, you stay until 2 o'clock in the morning. It
kind of messes.
It's not good. And often bands will charge a little bit extra to stay later, but it's not a lot, and that might mean they'll perform live later, or they'll DJ till the end of the night, or whatever it might be. At the very least, they'll play a playlist till the end of the night.
Fantastic. Okay, and lastly, we've got a question here. Why should you book a band or any entertainment through an agency rather than going to the actor directly, or your mate down the road?
Firstly, you get to speak to someone like me, which always helps.
It's a pleasure speaking to someone like you, Matt. They're missing out on that.
Well, this is it. That. No, but in all seriousness, they get to speak to someone who does it all day long, every day. Most people that are getting married only plan a wedding once, and it's a big thing. I appreciate they have loads of ideas, and often they might need someone to rein in those ideas a little bit, or at least help with things and deal with it that way. So an agency, you're going to speak to someone who knows what they're doing, an expert, basically. They will ask you the questions that we've been through today that perhaps you won't have thought of yourself. They know the best acts for what you're looking for, and often you may look at a band and sort of think that they're great, or go through things, and it's not that they're not great, but it might be that they're a bit far away, or whatever it might be, and so an agent will be able to help with all of that.
Cool.
And they'll go through all those bits and pieces.
I suppose the other thing, if you're looking at booking through an agency as well, every act has been vouched for and vetted, so everyone that you're looking at is going to be 100%, and they're going to show up and do their thing, and there's nothing to worry about. Whereas if who's accountable if you book your mate down the road whose band, your brother, he knows somebody, and then you're booking them and they don't turn up? Who do you go to?
No respectable business or agency is going to send out a band that they're not 100% happy with.
Sure.
But on that note as well, if there is a problem, at the end of the day, I'll always explain to people that the bands are reliable, but they are humans. Things can happen. People get ill, or whatever it might be. If that was to happen, an agency will take care of everything. As a bride or as a groom, you've got enough to worry about. You don't want to then have to think, the wedding's in 2 weeks, we're going to sort this out.
Exactly. This part of organising your wedding, your event, whatever, it shouldn't be the stressful part. It should be the fun part.
Yeah.
You're booking a band, or you're booking a magician or something really cool for your wedding. This could be the focal point. So don't let that bit kind of bog you down and stress you out. Leave it to us.
I spoke to someone recently, and they said after the wedding they sort of woke up and didn't know what to do, because they'd spent so many days doing everything, and they said to me, I wish I'd slowed down and enjoyed it more. And it should be enjoyable, and an agency will make it enjoyable, make it easier, and they'll help you with the whole process.
Cool. Okay, Matt, I think that's it.
Cool.
Thank you for joining us for Ask Warble. If you guys have any questions that you want to send to us, then use the hashtag AskWarble, or comment down below with your questions, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you.